So now we're in the process of evaluating use cases for implementing a data analytics pilot program, and it's focused on detection, prevention, and protection. Because our job at conservation is to protect human life and the natural environment and wildlife, okay? And that is our job, and that's what we're focused on. And imagine what we can do with all this data, over 100 years worth of data. We're also, on Friday, we are going to meet with San Diego State Supercomputing Center. We are all going down there because they have a data analytics program where they're producing master's students and docs and postdocs that are always looking for projects, right? They're always looking for projects, something to do. And they're willing to work with us on, hey, we'll give you some data, find out. And again, all public data, nothing confidential. We can give this to them. We can give them access to this lab. We actually don't even really need the supercomputing center. We're bringing this cloud lab to them, but we're getting the skill set because these are hard skill sets to find. I mean, they're very, very hard. So we're going to take advantage of this as much as we can, but we're meeting with them on Friday, and our director's even going because he's so excited about this. And also, these use cases that we're evaluating now, we're forming a small work group. This work group is essentially going to act as a service provider where people can page in and page out, bring us their questions, bring us their challenges, and we're going to use that to help inform regulatory updates. Excuse me, there are many updates that are occurring right now in conservation with regards to regulatory changes. Wouldn't it be great if those regulatory changes were based on things we actually know to be actionable? So this is meaningful. This is very meaningful for us. And also it really is our responsibility in California to be able to do that. By the way, these pictures here, those are all California. I didn't just pull that randomly off the web. Those are all California pictures. So, you know, in the future, we'd like to move towards digital services program. Now, digital services, everybody talks about digital services. It means a lot to a lot of different people, right? But digital services is really, to me, it's, you know, you've got IT here, you've got the end users here, you've got the public, you've got the legislature, you've got the federal government, and then in the middle, you have this digital services unit that needs to be able to adapt and adopt quickly. Well, how can they do that? They need data. They need that data. They need it coming in, and they need to be able to react and respond rapidly. They need to be able to change models rapidly, because from my perspective, digital services is no longer people, process, technology. It's behavior, process, and technology. And it's not just people's behavior. It's also, in our case, it's behavior of the earth, right? California has one of the most geologically diverse landscapes in all the world. We have the wettest area and the driest area. And we're seismically volatile. In fact, we have about 6 earthquakes a day, but they're under 5.0 and they're in remote areas. But this is why this could be so compelling for California. Also, we're going to be working with more and more of the universities. With the data that we're putting into this big data lab, we can start posting this on the CNRA, the Natural Resource Agency portal, for the public to have. Maybe they can find more things. Maybe they can find insights. This will give us the opportunity to be more visible, to provide more usable data, because a lot of the data we have, it's in electronic format. It's not digital. So this is also going to increase our ability to be responsive to the public, to the legislature, to the EPA, and that's what we have to do. My expectation is in the future, reporting requirements across agencies, across departments, are only going to increase. I mean, when you look at what conservation does, imagine if we can start expanding out our use case complexity and we can start working with healthcare services, public health, pesticides. How do you do that? Well, these are the platforms. These are the type of platforms that will work. And one thing I'd like to close with is that one of the most important things that that I believe that agencies and departments need to do right now is position themselves to take advantage of these technologies. Even if we are not at a digital services unit, let's say in 2 years, I want us to be able to take advantage of more advanced technologies in the future, because we're just not poised for that. You have to position yourself for it, and you have to position yourself for it soon, because this is rapidly changing and it's advancing. And big data is not new, by the way. I mean, I'm sure you all know that. It's not new, but now it's more accessible. It's more usable, it's more accessible, and if departments don't position themselves to take advantage of these more advanced technologies, it's going to be a really, really heavy lift in the future. So we're looking to the future of maybe going to a live model at some point, where we can send out our geologists and they can actually see at that moment air quality, what transportation, air traffic. They can also see what's happening in social media, because sometimes social media finds things before the rest of us do. Sensors may not pick up on something. So imagine if we could start pulling all that in. Imagine how powerful that would make our geologists. Because we want our geologists, we want the department focused on proactive behaviors. We want to detect, prevent, and protect. And that is our goal. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Khader. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Do you want me to take some questions now?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
How did you decide on your use cases? Was it like an existing inventory of projects, or did you examine the data to see where something interesting was happening and then build out?
I wish it was that structured, but no, we literally put some engineers in a room and we said, what do you guys want to know? What are some of the things that we just don't know?
So your program experts said, what has been lingering in my head?
Yep. This is something over here. Like things that they may have stumbled across, right, out in the field. And they're like, I wonder if this is happening elsewhere. Well, we just don't have an infrastructure to be able to do that. Let's go investigate this. Because even with use cases defined, you might stumble on things during the use case development that you didn't know. And then you can start testing other variables, start testing other things. And that can lead you in directions that where the possibilities are endless. Thank you. You gave me a great lead-in. Yes, sir. Yes.
You mentioned about the services, which is in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Is it for anybody, or is it how much it costs?
You probably want to ask Oracle about that.
I'll cover that.
He'll cover that. He'll cover more of the technical infrastructure of that. For us, it's a subscription service, and we'll have access to it, but it's hosted in their cloud. Yes.
So on the data quality end, because you mentioned that a lot of these are possibly sensor data,
Mm-hmm.
so there isn't that much of an issue. But do you have data quality issues that a lot of data projects encounter?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And which we're probably the only agency in the state of California that has that problem. I'm kidding. Absolutely. And actually, that's where veracity of the 4 V's come in on big data. With machine learning, the machine starts to learn over time of, every time I get data from, Bob's House of Oil, it's never good. So I know to normalize this or to spit it out as an anomaly. So as you run the use cases over time, it will actually help us take more proactive action to correct the data. Now, that still doesn't solve everything. One of the things that we'd like to also look at is, as part of our regulatory revisions, is start asking for data from operators from the industry in digital format, so that hopefully that'll get us a bit more of a jump start, but we're very well aware that we're going to have to do some cleanup along the way. But the good thing is, this actually will facilitate that rather than hiring a bunch of engineers to just go through Excel rows of data, which is what we've been doing in the past. Yeah. Yes?
The data sets
Mm-hmm.
available, which place is that?
At the Department of Conservation. If you want, all the data is publicly available. If you have any questions on the data sets or what the results yielded, please contact the department, and I'm sure there is an engineer who would love to talk to you about it. Absolutely. Yes.
Internally, what challenges, if any, did you have in accessing data with your own department, and how did you deal with that?
Well, it was actually pretty easy because all this data was publicly available. So the data was easily accessible. But there are people in the department, within the divisions, who aren't necessarily real excited about handing over their data. That's why we're putting in a governance. So this work group, who's actually going to do all the heavy lifting, right? We're the ones who are going to say how to do. But we're going to have a monthly governance board, and it's going to have a handful of internal leaders from DOC, and I'm hoping we can also get the AIO participating on it. And they'll vet the use cases in the areas where we're going. And if we have any issues with data acquisition, our director is committed to making sure that that data is handed over, because it's California's data. It's not the departments, it's not the divisions. And we have a responsibility also to put that data on an open portal. So even if we weren't doing this big data effort, we still have a responsibility to put it on the open data portal.
Follow-up question that
Yeah.
you mentioned data governance. Are you also advising or assisting people in redoing their databases or data sets? For example, if you have an Excel data set, maybe
Right.
you might want to convert it over to
Yes?
something more. Are you giving that advice, involvement in that?
Well, that's actually going to be part of that effort. Is depending on where the data sets are. So we have so many shadow databases all over the department, and as those get uncovered, we plan to pull those in to either transactional systems that are currently in use, merging them with other existing systems. It's actually going to be kind of interesting, because I have a feeling we're going to find a lot of redundancy, and we're going to have some challenges with which one is the record of truth. But yes, you don't just ingest it and say, great, we found out these things, and let the shadow database. This is actually a way of shaking out where all that data might be. Because one of the things, like I said, I like system adoption, not system imposition. We get enough people interested, because these are scientists. Scientists like to learn, and what I'm hoping is they'll start bringing forward more of their data sets. That'll give us more transparency. With that transparency, we can not only put that out for the public, but in addition, we can start pulling that data into a central space where everyone can have access to it. Because we are siloed, and that's not unusual. But yes, I see it as facilitating the process. Yes.
So I really like the idea of, instead of it's not about technology, it's actually about business insights.
It is.
So can you either tell us what the explosive business insight was, or characterize it in such a way? Was it fiduciary in nature? Is it health and safety in terms of the POC results?
It was regarding, I don't want to speak to the specific results because I'm not an engineer, and I would want you to talk to an engineer because I can't speak to them in any depth, but it was with regards to reporting compliance in the oil and gas division. And what was found was we actually knew there was one operator that had some issues with the reporting compliance, and it actually popped. But it also found other areas that we weren't aware of, we didn't know to investigate. And it does have, it has legal implications for it, and responsibilities towards our regulations and legislation. So it was a small set, it was only focused in one particular area, but it gave them such insight into, hey, wait a minute, if this is generalizable, if we found this much reporting non-compliance, if we were to apply that over here, that could be much, much bigger. It could mean that we don't have robust enough systems to be able to identify these anomalies. So, but if you want additional information, I'll give you my card and I can get you in contact with the department.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. This is a business thing. This isn't. Look, IT has to be about business, especially when you're moving towards digital services, because we're not just MIPS. Everyone sees us as MIPS and gigs, bits and bytes, power pipe and ping, and all those neat little sayings. But we have a responsibility for serving up capabilities that are going to allow the business not to have to focus on cleaning up their data or spending all this administrative time. We need to provide those tools to the business, but so the role of IT, while it's been changing over time, I really see the move towards digital services as becoming that glue that finally binds the divide between IT and the business, because it's always been there. Yes?
So please carry that message forward to all the other CIOs at the state.
A great book that I would recommend people read is the CIO Paradox. because it talks about the fact that there is always the business versus the CIO. The CIO was invented so they could be at the table, but the CIO is still very much viewed as, well, you're just technology. So I'm of more of the mindset that CIOs have to come further across the table, get more involved, but the only way, and I learned a very valuable lesson in this process, the only way you can do it is if you can demonstrate value that makes sense to them. You can't say, oh, we made all our SLAs, look at this performance compute. They don't care. They don't care. And you can't. And that's really where the CIO Paradox comes in. So I strongly recommend reading it. It's a great read, and it really depicts well the CIO position. Yes, AJ.
Yeah, so we talked about the what actually within the program and the IT.
Uh-huh.
And where your challenges and the challenges, how do you overcome that? And how do you help the program to recognize that they need to drive the transformation?
Well, you know, in this case, we found like-minded people. We found people that wanted to make a change. We had to all essentially bond over a common vision. And I'm just talking about this specific. There were other things that we've done in the department to help bridge that gap, to align ourselves. And but the key is getting the business in the front. Have them be the spokesperson. When we presented to the leadership, I didn't speak. In fact, I wasn't even there. I let the business get in there and do it. I had an engineer present it. And it completely blew their minds, because what it told them was this was a business. CIOs, we need to kind of step back and say, let the business present it. Let the business sell it, because if I had been the one to present it, it would have been, well, it's cool technology for Catherine, right? Because the day I presented it to leadership, I remember they said, do you just want to play with fun things, Catherine? And I said, well, if I wanted to do that, I'd have drones flying through this building right now. Yeah, I would have selfie drones attached to my phone, just going everywhere, making sure people aren't putting their passwords on sticky notes. So, but it's the key is finding like-minded people, and I was really fortunate that I found other people. You know, I came to conservation because I care about the environment. I care very passionately about the environment, and that's why I'm there. So, all right, I'm getting a
10 minutes.
10 minutes. So I'm going to pass it to Khader. I'll hang out here. If anyone wants to talk to me further, please do. Thank you so much.